Hello, listeners, and welcome to the first program in our 5-part series of Office Practice, which is produced for grades 10 to 11, Namibia Senior Secondary Certificate, ordinary level learners, and anybody else who has an interest in the subject. My name is Evans Kwetemu. Today, we will learn about the levels of administrative personnel. Please be in possession of a pen and a notebook so that you can take note of all the important points that we are going to discuss. Just a reminder, don't forget to take part in the quiz at the end of the program. Every one of us here has a dream of becoming a business owner, a manager, or an employee of a white-collar job in Namibia. Isn't that so? I hope today's program will shed light on the levels of administrative personnel and take a look at specific job descriptions and their roles in an organization. At the end of this program, you should be able to: Number 1, identify positions of an elementary structure of an organization. Number 2, identify and describe different types of secretaries, for example, private and executive. Number 3, explain the job description of a private and executive secretary.
Good morning, Bertha.
Oh, good morning, Martin.
How are you?
I'm doing well, yourself?
Great. Listen, last night I overheard my dad telling my mom about grouping his employees into different departments at his business consultancy company, and I was really curious on what he meant.
Wow, that's interesting. Coincidentally, my mom was talking about her being promoted to an executive secretary at a trunking company she's working for. I really wanted to ask her what the position was all about. Unfortunately, she received a phone call that she attended to until I retired to bed.
Oh, I really have no idea. Maybe we should ask Mr. Thomas.
Please be quiet. Good morning, class. Please, take your seats. Martin and Betha, you seem to be confused about something. Do you mind sharing with the whole class what it is about?
Sorry, sir. We are discussing issues relating to today's lesson. My dad is the owner of a business consultancy company.
Okay.
And he was talking about grouping employees into different departments. Since I'm following my dad's footsteps, I was really curious on what he meant.
That is true, sir. Martin wants to be a businessman someday.
Oh, that's great.
And since I'm also following my mom's footsteps, I really want to be a secretary in a big company.
Interesting.
She mentioned something about being promoted to an executive secretary, but that left me baffled. I thought a secretary is just a secretary. Had no idea there are different types of secretaries.
Okay. Thank you, Martin and Betha. That is a great way of introducing our lesson today on the levels of administrative personnel. To start off with, who can tell me the meaning of personnel?
Does it not refer to people employed in an organization?
Yes, it does, Betha. Well done. Administrative personnel are part of an organizational structure, which is the formal layout of managerial hierarchies and the grouping of employees, departments, and business units within a company. So, to answer you, Martin, your dad, as the owner of his company, he is at the topmost managerial hierarchy of his company. Thus, he, along with his associates, are the ones responsible of grouping employees in various departments according to their skills and qualifications.
Oh, now I get it. So does it mean if my dad is on top of the hierarchy, the rest is in the lower part of the hierarchy are not important for the company?
Betha, do you have something to say?
I don't think so. I think it's always wise to identify frontline positions at the bottom of the organization chart that are necessary to the company's model. The bottom of an organization chart represents the lowest positions in the company hierarchy, and the company as a whole does rely upon these positions. Thus, one should not make the mistake of assuming that lower-level employees are less important.
Exactly. Always analyze the job descriptions and strategic contributions of each executive position in the organizational structure. Positions at the top are crucial, providing guidance and leadership that trickle down through all layers of the organization.
Very informative. Sir, quick question.
Yes.
In which part of the organization hierarchy does Bertha's mom belong to? As an executive secretary, top, middle, or lower?
Good question, Martin. Secretaries are to an extent considered as the backbone of a company since they play a major role in an organization by performing duties and functions such as organizing and conducting meetings, writing correspondences, keeping records and accounts, amongst others. Depending on the extent of the responsibilities by the secretaries, they can be classified in many categories, but the major one being private and executive secretaries. So can anyone tell me the difference between a private and executive secretary? Betha?
I'd like to die, sir.
Okay.
A private secretary is a person who is employed for performing some personal work of his or her employer. Generally, the high officials of an organization employ private secretary for getting help in performing their routine functions. For example, conducting correspondences, preserving and filing important documents, making and recording appointments, handling phone calls, etc. I'm not really sure about the executive.
Excellent, Betha. I'm really impressed, and I can clearly tell you will be one day a productive secretary. Over to you, Martin. What do you think an executive secretary is?
Truthfully speaking, sir, I'm not sure at all.
That's okay, Martin. An executive secretary is a highly skilled professional who supports executives or management in an administrative capacity. They conduct research, manage schedules, and provide efficient and effective administrative support. Thus, they perform senior level functions and expedite office productivity.
My goodness. So, meaning my mom is actually part of the top hierarchy at her company, right?
Precisely. I'm glad you and Martin have been answered at the same time.
100%, sir. This lesson has been very interesting and informative. Before you call it a day, sir, can Bertha and I conclude what we have learned today?
Yes. Both of you may go ahead. But always, ladies first.
Okay.
Betha?
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Today I have learned that organizational structure is the formal layout of managerial hierarchies and the grouping of employees, departments, and business units within a company. Analyze the job descriptions and strategic contributions of each executive position in the organizational structure. Positions at the top are crucial, providing guidance and leadership that trickle down through all the layers of the organization. Secretaries are to an extent considered as the backbone of a company, since they play a major role in organization by performing duties and functions such as organizing and conducting meetings, writing correspondences, keeping records, and accounts, amongst others.
That is very, very great. Mr. Martin?
Yes, sir. I have also learned that depending on the extent of responsibilities by the secretaries, they can be classified in many categories, but the major ones being private executive secretaries. A private secretary is a person who is employed for performing some personal works of his or her employer. Executive secretary is a highly skilled professional who supports executives or management in administrative capacity.
That brings us to the end of today's session. Before class is dismissed, here is your question for the day. Question: what title is given to a secretary who is a highly skilled professional who supports executives or management in an administrative capacity? A. Private. B. Executive. C. Company. This program was written by Evans Kwetemu. Until next time, goodbye for now.
This program was brought to you by NAMCOL with funding from the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture and the Commonwealth of Learning.